Modern prototypes are highly optimized racing cars with various driving aids such as shifter pedals, traction control and power steering, which make it much easier for drivers to tame the insane amount of downforce these cars have. A good 30 years ago, things looked a little different. Group C cars were a lot rougher and tougher. First, they had a much higher power-to-weight ratio than modern prototypes, and second, none of the aforementioned driving aids. Nevertheless, they were just as fast. Or were they not? That's exactly what I want to find out today. Can the 1987 Sauber C9 beat the 2018 Cadillac DPi? I'll be playing best of 3, pitting the two cars against each other on 3 iconic racetracks with very different characteristics. So we're kicking this little shootout off at Long Beach, round 1, the DPi on the main straight. It drives so smoothly, all through the gears, 6 gears, up to 280 before braking at the 300 yards board. It's all about keeping it super precise here. Don't touch the wall. Also here, take your time, but it's all about downforce and traction, of course. Whoa. And even on the highest downforce setting that I chose, this car tends to understeer a little. Tries to put you in the wall. But nevertheless, it's a blessing to drive, actually. It's so smooth and so controllable.
Sector 2 time is okay.
Again, tight line here, nevertheless, getting close to the wall. Keeping a tight line here in the penultimate corner before getting to the hairpin. Well, it never feels good, actually, but that looked good, at least. Quite fast. And over the line in a 1:11.4 flat.
11.40.
Well, not bad, but definitely not the fastest time in the world, but only P14, some 2.1 seconds behind the leader. Let's see what the C9 can do. Can it compete with the DPi at Long Beach? Well, look at that. It's so much harder to keep the traction on the track. The acceleration is super great, but the car almost feels overpowered on this narrow circuit. Wow, I have to brake so early here to make that corner. Second gear it is then. Rolling, slowly accelerating or quickly accelerating and then letting the car roll again. It looks slower, doesn't it? And woo! 2 feet up. And also so close to the wall. Man, went okay. Acceleration is superb of this car, but well, it also tends to heavily understeer, especially in slow and tight corners. You're a bit of oversteer into that corner before accelerating. Up to the 300 board, have to again brake so much earlier, and now it's almost impossible to keep a tight line here before then, going into the hairpin. That looked slow and edgy, and I don't know. Well, acceleration is where it shines, but not here and not today. It's a 1:14.4, some 3 seconds slower than the DPi, making it a clear 1-0 for the DPi. But there are 2 more rounds to come. Round 2 is at Monza. The current layout, now we're starting with the C9. Look at that, 300 already, not even over the line. 320, 330. Before braking at the 200 meter board to make that first chicane. About okay, considering that the car doesn't like cornering at all. Then again, accelerating super hard through the Curva Grande towards the second chicane. About 160 meters. Swallowing the sausage curbs, if you can, both using all of the track. Up to third gear. And through the Lesmos, understeering like hell. Ugh. Had to lift slightly. Lost a little. Even there, one tire on the grass, but not that bad. Only slightly missing the apex. Never mind. It's again flat out. Up to Ascari. And from here on, it's flat out again. You can hit the pedal very early. And the penultimate sprint up to Parabolica before braking, even before the 100-meter board. And then again, understeer. When can I hit the throttle again? Now I can. It's still a struggle and a fight. Now I can accelerate flat out. Well, and it's over the line in a 134.778.
Last lap was a
Not the worst time in the
134.78.
world. Nope. But the second best. 0.3 of a second behind Tom Graf. It's DPi time. Can it beat the C9 already here at Monza and make it a 2-0? Very striking is the difference in top speed. It's 30k less. But I can brake so much later. Corner speeds are so much higher. More traction out of the corners. Slightly inferior acceleration. And again up to 290 before braking hard. About 130 meters, swallowing here the inner sausage curb. You can do that, but have to be careful about track limits. And then through the Lesmos, look at that. So much faster and such a better line than the C9. And it's even more palpable in the second one. Perfect apex. Could have used even more of that curb and astroturf on the outside, but wanted to play it safely. Again, flat out onto Ascari, which here is almost flat out. You won't believe it. It's from here on, flat, through the last two bends, flat with this car. It's insane. It suffers a bit under the inferior acceleration, but look at that. Braking point about where the F1s are braking, about 70-80 meters. Insane. Also here, super tight line through Parabolica. Accelerating. It's all about acceleration. What can he do? The DPi 135.3, 0.6 of a second slower than the C9. And with that time, I am still the fastest on the planet. So you guessed it. Who will be champion? It has to be decided here at Spa, round 3 of this shootout. The DPi is gonna start through La Source, tight line. Spa is a pretty balanced circuit, offering all sorts of corners. Why, look at that. Flat out through Eau Rouge and Radion. Flat out with 270k. Bam! Braking just at the beginning of the curb. Third gear. Very nice line. It almost feels like F1 with this thing here. But even more controllable because of the lower power to weight ratio. Bit of a lockup, but nothing worse. That's all okay to good. A pretty clean lap so far. Not everywhere on the ultimate limit. Oh, and these corners are so much fun if you get them right. And now toward the final part. There's another S-curve. Use all of the road before braking onto Mirabeau, the final straight. And from here on, it's flat out again. You can do this corner flat out. For this car, it's just a bend. Flat out for almost a kilometer. Flat out, also flat out here, 280. Wow. Before braking, just at that white line, down to second. A bit too late. Down to first to make that last corner. Yeah, good line, good acceleration. Good enough for a 202.2.
That time was
Okay,
202.26.
that's some time to beat C9. Can it do it or not? With this time, I'm in P10 on the global leaderboard, 1.5 seconds behind the leader. Now, can the C9 compete with that? The first striking difference again is how unwilling this car is. When it comes to turning, acceleration again is great, but I have to brake much earlier to make La Source. Although I did it, I just can't the car get to turn that tight as the DPi. Nevertheless, no excuses, full on the throttle, and now watch this. Just a slight lift, but 290, almost 300k coming out of Radillon. Insane, 30k more than the DPi. Braking earlier, yes, losing about 50 meters. To make that corner, that feels super slow, I know. But there's not much more to do. If you want to keep that car on the track, a bit too wide, missing the apex slightly, but well, this corner is quite forgiving. Also here, playing it safe, keeping the car on the road. Could have used a bit more of the road here, losing some tenths of a second. And this wonderful section now, a bit too wide, but still okay. No track limits, you can do that. Well, yeah, what's it gonna be? Also, for the C9, for the Group C, I think quite a clean lap. Not much oversteer. Not much sideways. And in the C9, it is flat out from here on. So, a bit later, but now again, watch this. It's already 290, it's already 300. Flat out 320. Braking at the end of the inside curb, second gear, down to first, and a bit rougher, not perfect, but come on, C9, you can do it. 214. 214, 0.8 of a second faster than the DPi. Again, I'm second globally, 0.5 of a second behind Tom Goffin. That means the C9 wins this shootout. Congrats, old Group C. Was this an objective test, and can the results be generalized? Nah, I don't think so. More skilled drivers than me will definitely be able to move the cars quicker around these tracks, especially the DPi. And of course, the times depend to a very large amount on the tracks. Narrow, slow circuits generally favor the modern car, while faster tracks with lots of straights basically favor the C9. However, despite all subjectivity, I find it quite amazing how small the time differences were between these two cars. On 2 or 3 tracks, it was just a few tenths of a second between them. So if there's anything to be noted, it's perhaps this. Over the past 30 years, prototypes have not necessarily become faster, but they have certainly become much safer, more reliable, and easier to drive. With this in mind, please drive fast and drive safely. Oh, and in case you're wondering what this footage here is all about, well, I did a final test with both cars at Daytona, the temple of the IMSA series. And, well, you guessed it, the C9 was also faster there. 1.9 seconds in the end.